You know, I am almost sick of saying it, but it still holds true. Every single week they keep upping the ante. So let's cut the nonsense and jump right in. This is Castle Rock Recap. Yeah, I'm holding firm on that name. Alright, just like we like to every single week, let's start out with some speculation and some theories that you guys shot to me. There's a couple I want to highlight here. Ryan Shannon says, I think the house was trashed and the kid was bleeding from a dog attack at the end. That would be interesting. We do know to look out for the Rottweilers now. The Rottweilers are important, so that's entirely possible. Yes, I still want reanimated Cujo. Robert Garza wrote in episode 4, Pangborn and Henry are at the cemetery looking for his dad's grave, and they argue about why Pangborn was out searching the morning that he found Henry. Because Henry had already been missing for 11 days. Henry says, I had been missing since Christmas. Okay, well, we have seen Henry's missing persons poster, and it reads, last seen the night of January 9th, 1991. So, is it a misstep in the writing, or did he go missing on Christmas and or January 9th? Also, January 9th, 1991, and also 1, 9, 91, and 19 is maybe the deepest of the King Universe threads. That is a very good point with the 19s and everything like that and all the 9s and the 1s and the whatnot. I didn't catch that. Good detective work. That I have a really hard time thinking that it was a writer's oversight. I think that there might be something more to that. For instance, we are told one thing or they know one thing, but Henry knows something completely different. So if Henry's saying that he was missing since Christmas and everybody else thinks that he was missing January 9th, then there's a whole bunch more days that were accounted for. Or unaccounted for, excuse me. So I don't know. I have a hard time saying that it's the writing. Like I said, that might be something that's going to come out in the open. This next one I'm going to paraphrase because it was very long, but this comes from Site. Site says that, what if some of the big things that we've heard are misinterpretation? Henry did it could have nothing to do with the accident. It could be Daddy Deeve saying that Henry finally accomplished whatever it was he needed him to do in the woods. Pangborn never said that his father confessed to him that he killed him. He just wrote Henry did it in all caps on a bank slip, and that could mean anything. That is an extremely good point. That's been something that I've been kind of toiling with in the back of my mind. Another thing that I was thinking, just to add on to, or throw another wrench into that mindset, is what if he was saying that Henry killed him, but the Daddy Deeve that we're seeing in that hospital bed is not the one that went into the woods. It's just a different Daddy Deeve. I mean, we're already talking about the possibility of, different dimensions and whatnot. What if one went in, but a different one came back out? So, I'm just throwing that out there. In the episode, the kid said there will be a monument to everyone that helped lock him in the cage. He didn't say that he was going to build a monument, but rather there will be a monument. Maybe this eventual monument is actually to honor those that played a part in locking him up and protecting the town. That is a very good point. I've been getting this inkling that the kid is far more self-aware of what he is and what he's capable of doing than anybody else. And that includes the audience, that includes all the characters. I think that a lot more has come to light, especially when we have characters that obviously have the shinin. So that's entirely possible. But yeah, so that's what I wanted to highlight as far as speculation and thoughts this week, guys. Keep them coming. I'm absolutely loving those. Site, amazing stuff in the comments in my last video. Keep those coming, guys. I love talking about this. So that's all for right now. Let's jump into the actual episode. What do we got this week?
Back door open.
Mrs. Deaver, I think that something terrible is going to happen.
It's happening.
For the trumpet will sound and the dead will be raised, imperishable hands. Ruth?
Are you there?
Holy shit. I already did the whole and drinking a milkshake bit a couple of episodes ago, so I can't really do that again. Plus, I finished my milkshake while watching the episode, and this is an episode where I feel like I would have done that again. This was definitely not what I was expecting. See, here's the thing. Every couple of years, there is a piece of television, or there's an episode to a television series that just transcends. Most of the time, they end up being bottle episodes. Like, a good example would be the Sleepless episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer way back in season 4. It was poignant. It had a lot to say. I'm not convinced that the cheese does not mean anything in the broad scheme of things, still, to this day. But needless to say, it stood on its own, or it could stand on its own in the face of a greater narrative. The most recent example of what I'm talking about, and the most recent example of an episode of television that made me feel the way I just felt, was a little bit over a year ago. Episode 8 of Twin Peaks: The Return, where you're seeing essentially resurrection by demon, and you've got Nine Inch Nails rocking out, and you're seeing the birth of evil on Earth, born from a mushroom cloud. You're seeing just so much. It's just such a powerful episode, and such beauty and such poignancy, and not just in the narrative that it was, trying to structure, but in the self-contained story that it was. The shots, the acting, the way it was edited, the way it was cut, it was brilliant. This episode of Castle Rock was exactly like that to me. This episode could have stood on its own two legs. If they had extended this could have been a movie in its own right. Here's the thing about this episode. I feel like you could watch this singular episode without seeing any other Castle Rock and still be moved by it and still understand a lot. You will probably go back and rewatch it after the series is concluded and pick up something completely different. You may have seen the same things that I saw while watching it the first time, and I'm recording this about a half hour after I watched it. It would have been sooner, but I needed a little bit of time to calm down because it was emotional to me. This episode was a thing of beauty. This was art. Everything from the shot transitions, going from one room to the next room, and in that same motion, going from one memory to another memory. The chess pieces served as not just a touchstone and a through line and a piece of narrative structure and a piece of exposition, really, to the characters, but also to us. It worked simultaneously. When we saw the chess pieces, it was at the same time that Ruth saw the chess pieces. We knew that she had the ability to get out of the situation that she was in. Let's talk about the elephant in the room real quick. Let's talk about the big reveal, and that would be the death of Sheriff Pangborn. Sheriff Pangborn is a character that has shown up in many, many, many Stephen King stories, from The Dark Half to Needful Things, and then finally here in Castle Rock. He's been played by many actors, and few that I love as much as our current iteration, but I felt that it was fitting and appropriate the way he went out. It didn't have to be a blazing salvo, and it didn't have to be guns blazing, gunning down a big bat or anything like that. This felt appropriate. It was solemn, it was intimate, it was heartfelt, and it was unfortunate. And that's the way life is many times. But it wasn't his death that got me emotional. It was a couple of scenes later, a couple of through lines later, a couple of chess pieces later, when Ruth goes back and remembers the day that Sheriff Pangborn came home. And seeing him standing there, stumbling over his words, trying to find the way to say hello and find a way back into the life of a woman that he loved. And to see her just embrace him, knowing what was going to happen, having the memory of what will happen in the future, was powerful. This episode acted as both a look at time travel, which was already alluded to in the episode itself, as well as a study of dementia and Alzheimer's. This episode had dual meanings all over the place. One article that I did read, which I am going to share with you the highlight here. What happened with the kid was real. He said those lines. He acted that way. He did touch her. He did draw her a bath. He did make those food. He had those same memories from that she had from with her husband. That was real. That was not an illusion. That was not her memories from the past muddying with what was happening in the future. I still don't know what I'm supposed to make of the fact that she thinks that he looks like her husband. But what we did see was when he came into the house, which we saw last episode, and she obviously thinks that it's him. We saw a flash through her eyes in this episode where the kid looked like him. So what we're supposed to make of that, I don't know. Maybe Michael found his way to immortality through the body of the kid. I don't know. But I have a feeling that this episode is going to take on several different shades as we enter out to the end of the season. And for all I know, because this show has been renewed, by the way, this has become must-see TV. We're getting a season 2, which means that you guys are getting more of this when season 2 comes out. And I hope Mark Bernardin's in the writer's room for it again. But I know that he's working on a Jason Bourne show right now. The point is, we don't know what that's going to bring, but it is supposed to be an anthology series. For all we know, this episode is going to have a ripple effect throughout the rest of the series. It's hard to say. Maybe it's going to be self-contained to this season. Maybe it's going to ripple out, and we're going to see chess pieces, even as far as the little nods or Easter eggs going forward. I don't know. But this episode was emotional. It was powerful. It was a character study. It was a study in history and how history informs our present and ultimately our future. It's also a study of how fear can overwhelm your senses and your mind. One of the most interesting things that I thought that this episode gave us was her trying to go back through, reliving her past and through her memories, being chastised by her dead husband, all the while trying to remember where she hid the bullets. That was such an interesting way to go down that rabbit hole. And I don't know, possibly more true than not to someone that might have Alzheimer's. I don't know. I don't have Alzheimer's. How am I to know? But I don't know what else to say about this episode. It didn't give me a whole lot of answers. If anything, it made me slightly more confused, but I feel like I'm a better person after watching this. It was art, and it made me feel things. It was powerful, man. What did you guys think of it? Did it make you get all blubbery and stuff like that? Because I'll admit, I cried at the end of the episode. Let me know in the comments. Shoot me an email. Tweet at me. Get me on Facebook. Join the Castle Rock discussion, man. Facebook.com/groups/Castle Rock fans. The link is going to be down in the show notes. I, for whatever reason, am one of the admins in there now. So, sorry. But, yeah, get at me. Let me know your speculation for next week. Let me know how this episode made you feel. Because, goddamn, this one got to me. This is on my short list for best hours of television ever composed. So that's going to take us out of here, guys. Do not forget to like and subscribe. Like this video, share it around, tell everybody else about it, and subscribe to the channel. I've had such a huge influx of subscribers since I started up doing this. You guys are absolutely awesome. I really hope that you're enjoying watching them, because I know I'm enjoying making them. So I will see you guys next week for another Castle Rock recap. And yeah, if you get at me, chances are I'm probably going to definitely want to talk to you guys after this one, because wow, I need to watch it again.